Well, hello everyone. I'm gonna be restarting the stream here. Um, Mainly because I'm back and I just came back and I noticed how wild things have been going as far as the severe weather threat. Um, I was very wrong about it being on more of a downward turn. I guess it was just instead of all happening all at once, it's just more spread out over a longer period of time. We still are seeing some tornadic development. We have a couple tornado warnings, so let's actually take a look at some of these. Let's start off with this tornado warning, which is currently an observed tornado warning. Let me put on the 4-panel view so you guys can get an idea for what's currently going on. Um, okay, so you can see uh, very prominent tornadic features in the reflectivity, but then you can see very prominent rotation as well. But nothing really on correlation coefficient. However, you're about to see something. You're about to see something. Hold on, actually, let me increase the amount of frames. The amount of frames that has to go back. You're about to see, um, probably one of the primary reasons why I probably restarted the stream. Was a while back. Actually, a couple minutes ago. Where is it? Oh yeah, this. Um, Tornado on the ground not too long ago. Um, Yeah, I mean, you can see it's kind of hard to tell because of how close it is to the radar site and everything else around it. But you can see very, very tight, very decent rotation. But then, very tight correlation coefficient drop. So there was likely a small tornado on the ground at some point with this. Um, yeah, so we're gonna. Its sense has lifted, but there was a tornado on the ground. That's kind of the primary reason why I restarted the stream. Mostly because I was finished and I'm feeling better now, so I actually have more motivation to actually cover the severe weather for today. Um, but yeah, I'm probably just gonna be covering the severe weather um, over the next couple of hours, possibly. Um, We have two other tornado warnings outside of that as well. One for Canton, crossing Interstate 55, which you definitely want to be taking shelter if you are on Interstate 55. There's no tornadic debris signature indicating that it would be on the ground. However, there could be one that could drop at any time with a system like this. So, of course, you want to be taking shelter if you're on Interstate 55, as again, it could just drop a tornado at any time. And we also have tons of hail, so maybe damaging cars that are driving through the area. But in Canton, you definitely want to be taking shelter. Um, then let's see. Let's take a look at this beast of a tornado, or not. Sorry, not beast of a tornado, but look at how crazy it looks on radar. You can see um it's getting it's indicating up to like 80 miles per hour um in just winds, which I don't know how accurate that is. I know that we are expected to have a damaging wind threat, but I don't think we were expecting a destructive wind threat um today. So it's probably a little bit of a contamination. There's probably not a 80 miles per hour wind gust getting up to possibly like 150, 114 miles per hour. Yeah, that's insane. That's probably contamination. But you can see with this tornadic feature, very strong tornadic feature, very what was the word? What's the word I'm trying to use here? uh, very prominent tornadic features on our reflectivity, as well as very strong rotation there. It's a little broad, but it's very strong, and I would not be surprised if it tried to drop a tornado anytime soon. So currently we have three different tornado warnings that we're trying to focus on, and yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a hectic hectic few hours, I would say. It's gonna be a little crazy, I think. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm just gonna try and get the link for the live stream out there real quick. And I will get back with you in a couple of minutes, hopefully. All right, I'm back. I got the live stream links out there. Um, yeah, okay. So far there's not. So far we are still seeing extremely strong rotation. Um, with that very strong rotation there. Um, And let's take a look at some of these other tornado warnings. The one for Canton, still no tornadic debris signature or anything that indicates that it's on the ground. However, still strong rotation and it could drop a tornado at any second. And you definitely want to be taking shelter if you live in Canton. And it does look like the other tornado warning that did drop a tornado earlier before I went live has since been canceled, so that's good. Can I find that actually? Where was that? Just so we can take a look at the rotation. So you can see that the rotation has died down quite a bit. You can see that there is still rotation there, but again, it's died down quite a bit. Um, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wait. What? Okay, never mind. We're good. I thought I had something wrong with the stream, but it was just something on my end. The stream is fine. Um, thank you for tuning in, and um, that, overall, just thank you for tuning in, whoever that was. And yeah. We're gonna be continuing to cover this these two tornado warnings here. Um, over the next couple of minutes, we're going to track them. Again, very strong rotation, very prominent and strong signatures in reflectivity and velocity for tornadic development. Quite a bit of contamination on a correlation coefficient, so we can't really tell if there's really a tornado on the ground or not all that much because of how much contamination there is. But then you can see for the the tornado warning towards Canton, there's still it's a little bit more weaker. The rotation's a little bit more weaker, but it is there, and it is fairly strong. And you can still see prominent tornadic features in the reflectivity, which is going to possibly give us a tornado. This is even if there is no tornadic debris signatures that shows you that there is a tornado currently on the ground right now, um, this could still drop a tornado at any time. So if you live in Canton, you definitely want to be taking shelter still, as well as for Hazelhurst, Castle Springs, um, uh, Beauregard, and Wesson. Or anywhere along Interstate 55 in that tornado warning, you want to be taking shelter as this is a very strong area of rotation. So you definitely want to be taking shelter. Um, there. It's kind of hard to tell, but as of what I can see, there's currently nothing indicating that a tornado is currently on the ground. However, especially with a mesocyclone this strength and this size, it could drop a tornado at any time, and maybe even be harder to tell with the correlation coefficient all messed up. So there could be a tornado, and I might miss it, but uh, that's going to be a major issue. You definitely want to be taking major precautions if you live in any of the areas that could potentially be affected by this extremely strong mesocyclone. It could drop a tornado at any time. And let's actually take a look at backup Canton. You can see that rotation has strengthened up quite a bit. It's becoming a little bit tighter, and again, it could potentially drop a tornado at any time. So we're just going to continue to track. Um, we're just going to continue to track these two tornado warnings over the next couple of minutes. I'm going to do something really quickly, but I will not take you onto the stay tuned screen. I'll keep you here. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . All right, I'm back. I was never really gone though, so um, let's take a look at what's going on right now. As far as precipitation, you can see tons of precipitation. It's gonna be raining for quite a while in these areas, and we do have a threat for flash flooding that is currently issued. I'm pretty sure it's a marginal threat for some isolated flash flooding. It's a little bit more flat in the Dixie states, but again, some more low-lying areas can see some rain accumulation and some flash flooding. And then let's take a look at that very strong mesocyclone, but mostly broad. You can see it's still going. It's still pumping out tons of power. Um, I'm beginning to think that this may not be all that much contamination. I mean, it is fairly far away from the radar site, but you can see just how much it is. We may be seeing some strong winds, but let's take a look at how it like shoots up from 30 miles per hour straight to like 80 and 70 miles per hour. So we're probably not seeing crazy strong winds. I would assume that we may be able to see a little bit more stronger winds closer to the mesocyclone, not only because of how strong the mesocyclone is, but also rear flank downdraft on the south slash southeastern side of this mesocyclone could be very strong, especially for a mesocyclone that is this big and this powerful. We could definitely be seeing a very strong rear flank downdraft with that, which could also be leading to some damage by itself. Again, Um, this is expected to impact Interstate 55, including the towns of Hazelhurst, Beauregard, and Wesson. In the next couple minutes, if you are traveling down Interstate 55 and you know that you're in the tornado warning, you definitely want to be pulling over the side of the road and taking shelter immediately, getting away from your car and putting your hands over your head and kneeling down in a ditch to make sure that nothing really no flying debris can hit you, as it is going to be very difficult to see that tornado at night. You do not want to wait until you could either hear or see the tornado with your headlights as it crosses Interstate 55. If you know you're going to be traveling through that tornado warning, you want to be pulling off to the side of the road and getting in a ditch. And if you live in Hazelhurst and or Beauregard or Weston, you definitely want to be taking the necessary precautions and getting in a sturdy structure um, and staying weather alert. Again, there's currently nothing that's really indicating that a tornado is currently on the ground, but again, it could drop at any time. It's a huge possibility with this. But yeah, we're just gonna continue to track that tornado signature over the next couple of minutes. Yeah, we're just gonna continue to track that over the next couple of minutes. Again, still a very strong mesocyclone and a very prominent hooking feature on our reflectivity. Again, a tornado could drop at any time, even though there's nothing indicating that one's currently on the ground. Let's take a look at the Canton mesocyclone. Um, Still some fairly tight rotation there. Nothing is indicating that a tornado's on the ground, same as down south, but it is tightening up a little bit, and it is fairly strong. It's definitely not as strong as down south, but this could still drop a tornado at any time. The good news is that it has passed over Canton already without dropping a tornado, and I think it should be tracking over mostly rural areas until now, so I don't think any town or anything is really in the immediate danger of this mesocyclone. So we don't really have to track that as much as we do this one, because this is actually going towards a busy highway and a couple of towns. So yeah, here, let's take a look at the chat. Yeah, you can see, as I was mentioning previously, remember how I mentioned how the strong winds towards the southeast side of the mesocyclone are going to be a little bit stronger because of the RFD, which could definitely be seeing winds that are going to be possibly fairly strong, up to 100 miles per hour. I'm not really sure about that. However, um, I know that RFDs can be quite strong, but I would like to focus your attention to this right here. Do you see how we are seeing reflectivity values in that hook echo right underneath the rotation getting up to 60, sorry, not 60. Yeah, wait. Yeah, 60 dBz. That is that could be a little bit of debris. So there could be a tornado on the ground that I can't really see with or correlation coefficient. It's kind of hard to see, but there may be a debris ball. So if there is a tornado on the ground, which there very well could be, again, if you're driving along Interstate 55, if you live in Hazelhurst, Crystal Springs, Beauregard, or Wesson, you definitely want to be staying weather alert and taking shelter. If you know that you're going to be driving through the tornado warning along Interstate 55, um, you definitely want to be pulling off the side of the road, getting in a ditch away from your car, and protecting yourself from flying debris. You do not just want to drive through it blindly and wait until you can hear the tornado or see it with your headlights. As that's not that's not really that's not a smart thing to do. Um, but if you do live in Hazelhurst or Beauregard, sorry, I can't really pronounce that, or Wesson, you want to be you definitely want to be taking shelter. I think it might pass Beauregard or Wesson a little bit more towards the north. However, you do have the threat of being hit with some of the gusts from the RFD, which does appear to be quite strong and could potentially lead to some low-end tornadic like damage. So I highly suggest you take shelter, even if you aren't in the direct path of the tornado itself. You are in the path of very strong winds. So Hazelhurst, Beauregard, or Weston, you definitely want to be taking shelter from this thing. It's currently radar indicated it's going to be quite hard to get an observed tornado warning this late at night because it's this late at night. So again, a very, very strong tornadic signature. Let's take a look at the one in Canton. Um, there's not really a lot that we really have to go over for Canton because it's mostly going to be tracking over a rural area for the next couple of minutes. But you can see it's fairly good rotation there, but nothing is really indicating that's on the ground. The main issue for the one that's going to be down south is if um, if this is contamination or not, and what isn't contamination. Um, that's probably the biggest issue with this mesocyclone right now, because there's correlation coefficient drops. There's also um, areas where it's a little bit higher, so it's kind of hard to see. But there's nothing really too prominent that would be like that would really show or be like, oh, there's a tornado on the ground right there. So it's a little bit harder to see, but I would expect a little bit more lower correlation coefficient through this area because that is where we are seeing a little bit of hail. So, but you can still see that is a very powerful mesocyclone. Uh, it is about to hit Interstate 55 and Hazelhurst in the next couple of seconds. You have seconds until this hits Interstate 55 or Hazelhurst. You want to be pulling off to the side of the road immediately if you know that you're in the path of this thing. And Hazelhurst, and anyone in Hazelhurst, you have to be taking shelter. You are just seconds away from this tornado hitting Hazelhurst. Again, you need to be taking shelter. Um, Even if there isn't anything prominently indicating that a tornado is on the ground, it could drop one at any second. And with the sheer strength of everything that we're seeing with this with these various tornadic signatures for this, you do not want to take any chances whatsoever with this thing. You want to be taking shelter. Like this is no joke whatsoever. This is a very powerful system. And yeah, again, it's just this is a very powerful system. So again, if you live in Hazelhurst, driving through, or you're driving through the tornado warning in Interstate 55, you need to be pulling off to the side of the road and taking shelter. Or if you live in Hazelhurst, you have to be taking shelter in a sturdy building in the most interior room of that building. You must put um, the most amount of walls that you possibly can between you and the outside world, and you can't have any windows. If you can, maybe try and block off the door, but also find something to protect yourself with, as again, this is a very powerful system, and it could drop a tornado at any time. Wait, what? I'm sorry, I just like took a quick glance at my phone, and it showed me that I ate somewhere earlier today, because I did. It showed me exactly where I ate somehow. I did not tell my phone anything. So that is weird. It was um like the journal app on the iPhones, the new journal app. It told me to write about the restaurant I owed at, or I ate at, and overall that was, I don't know how it knew I was there, uh, besides my GPS location, or how it knew like so perfectly. But that's a little freaky. But again, Hazelhurst, or Interstate 55, tornado could drop any second now, and you're mere seconds away from being impacted by this extremely powerful system. You have to be taking shelter by this time. By the time this impacts, you cannot be taking any chances with this thing. This thing is very powerful, and it's very fast moving. You have mere seconds until it impacts. And I wouldn't be surprised if the next radar update shows it right on top of Hazelhurst. Okay, so our velocity did update a little bit, and you can still see it is very strong there. Very, very strong. And very strong RFD as well. Very, very strong RFD. Or rear flank downdraft, and then it looks like we are getting a secondary area of rotation. It does look like it may be shedding one of its hook echoes here. As you can see, some more developing rotation to the south of that, which is going to impact Interstate 55 and kind of target Beauregard and Wesson. So now you guys have that to worry about. You have the secondary developing. Um, Hook Echo. It may take a few minutes for it to really consolidate and really become all that organized. However, it looks like it just rapidly popped out of nowhere. So you do not want to be taking any chances with either of these systems. Let's take a look at the Canton system real quick. Um, yeah, it looks like that now. We might have had a very brief touchdown right here. You can see that we do have a little bit of a lower correlation coefficient. However, this was in a very rural area, so it probably didn't really do anything. But overall, now the velocity is very, very unorganized. But again, Hazelhurst, anywhere along Interstate 55, we may see an additional tornado warning for this system down here. Again, Beauregard, Weston, Hazelhurst, and along Interstate 55, you need to be taking shelter from the very powerful mesocyclone that could drop a tornado at any second, and the new area of rotation that is now developing. All right. Um, So again, that very strong area of rotation for Hazelhurst could drop a tornado at any time. It is impacting Interstate 55 and Hazelhurst right about now. Um, Another threat is the extremely strong uh, rear flank downdraft that could lead to some tornadic-like damage. Um, and then we also have those other areas of rotation that may be developing to the south of the big papa of all mesocyclones, um, that could potentially be targeting towards Beauregard and Wesson, as well as Interstate 55, again, just further down to the south. So these two cities have about 10 miles distant. They're not too far away. So again, you definitely want to be staying weather alert if you're driving down Interstate 55 in the Mississippi River Valley, or anywhere in the Mississippi River Valley right now, as Yeah, this is going on. Let's take a look at Canton. Um, Canton right now does have some rotation still ongoing. It is mostly weak though, and there's nothing indicating that a tornado was on the ground. However, earlier we did have that very little correlation coefficient drop, so there may have been a tornado on the ground for a very brief amount of time, and it was likely weak and small. Um, but we're gonna be primarily going over these things right here. This very large and very powerful mesocyclone that is impacting Interstate 55 in Hazelhurst right about now. So again, um, if you're driving through Interstate 55 and you know you're driving through the tornado warning, do not wait to hear or see the tornado. You have to be pulling over to the side of the road, getting into a ditch away from your vehicle, and protecting yourself from flying debris. If you live in Hazelhurst, make sure that you're getting into a sturdy building and putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible on the lowest floor, as well as maybe find something to protect yourself with. And then we also have these two other areas of rotation here. Sorry, not two other areas. It's kind of disorganized. They may kind of combine into one later on, but these are possibly going to target Beauregard and Wesson. Um, and then another threat from that is going to be those extremely strong rear flank downdraft winds impacting Beauregard and Wesson, which could lead to some weak tornadic-like damage in those two towns. And at this time, Hazelhurst would be being hit by this system if there was a tornado on the ground. It doesn't look like there is currently a tornado on the ground. However, it may drop at any time, and you do not want to take any chances with this thing. This is a very powerful and very large system. And then you can see, as I was mentioning previously, it was probably going to organize into a better mesocyclone, and now it has. It has developed into a little bit more of a better mesocyclone there, down to the south. It doesn't look like it's really going to impact Beauregard or Wesson anymore, or sorry, Wesson, but it should still impact Interstate 55. And if you're driving along Interstate 55, you still have those hazards. I'm hoping everyone that is driving through Interstate 55 is paying attention to that system. Um, Yeah, this is a very, very powerful area of rotation. Again, it is it's going to be probably one of the hardest things that you're ever going to be able to like try and see. If you even try to drive through this, it's going to be extremely dangerous. You do not want to try whatsoever to try and drive through this. Um, Notice the amount of precipitation around the mesocyclone. This is going to be a completely rain-wrapped tornado if there was one on the ground right now, which it could produce one at any second. Um, um, Again, extremely rain wrapped. Plus, it's the middle of the night. You're not going to be able to see a single thing if you're driving through Interstate 55. So if you know that you're going to be going through the tornado warning, please pull over to the side of the road. You do not want to try and go through that thing. You will probably not probably not like it. Um, all right, so let's take a look at that one area of rotation, that little bit smaller and a little bit weaker area of rotation. Um, there may be a little bit of a correlation coefficient drop. However, it does look like there may also be a little bit of hail, so it could be contamination from hail, but it could mean that a very very weak tornado may be on the ground right now with that system. So sorry, if you are driving through Interstate 55, again, not even do you have it, not only do you have that one extremely big mesocyclone, but you have the new one down to the south, which is potentially it's probably going to impact Interstate 55 again, um, right behind the much larger mesocyclone. So again, you still don't even want to try to risk it with that system. So you do not want to be driving through this thing whatsoever. Um, let's take a look at the Canton system. Um, as of right now, there's still rotation ongoing. I don't really know what it's doing right now. Haven't been really tracking it all that much. And the rotation is fairly disorganized. It's a little bit weaker, and there's nothing really indicating that tornado was on the ground. However, there was a very weak correlation coefficient drop earlier, so there might have been a tornado on the ground with the Canton uh, rotation earlier. But as of right now, there's currently not a tornado on the ground with the Hazelhurst mesocyclone, but it could drop one at any time. So not only is this mesocyclone extremely big, but it's also extremely rain wrapped. It's going to be extremely hard to see because it's also nighttime. So you do not want to risk driving through this thing whatsoever. So if you know you're going to be driving south of Crystal Springs, you want to be pulling off to the side of the road and not continuing any further. But if you know that you're going to be caught within the warning cone on Interstate 55, please pull off to the side of the road and get away from your vehicle and get into a ditch and protect yourself from flying debris. And then another hazard with that is going to be those wait, what? Hold on. Um and another hazard with that is going to be um possibly some hail, but also this second area of rotation down to the south, which is also possibly going to impact Interstate 55 as well, and potentially lead to another possibly another tornado impacting Interstate 55. As of right now, correlation coefficient um, shows a little bit of a drop, but it could be related to hail, but you don't want to be taking chances with that. Um, let's take a look at the chat. When do you think it's going to something down again? Um, I can't really, hold on. I know what I can do to see what that says. When do you think it's going to touch down again? Um, I don't know. You would have to be specific about, you have to be specific about which mesocyclone you're actually referring to. Um, by the way, I just saw a massive spike. Thank you guys for tuning in. But you would have to be more specific about which mesocyclone you're referring to, the Canton system or the ones near Interstate 55. The Canton system did touch down earlier. It does seem to be on a little bit more of a downward trend because it's much weaker, but it still could drop a brief tornado. It really all depends. There's not really a set time on when it will, but it could possibly. But the primary thing that we're going to be focusing on so far for the next couple of minutes is probably going to be these couple mesocyclones around Interstate 55 and Hazelhurst. And thank you all for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. But yeah, we're just gonna be taking a look at this over the next couple of minutes. And again, if you know that you're gonna be driving south of Crystal Springs, Louisiana, on Interstate 55, you want to be pulling off to the side of the road. You do not want to progress any further. The mesocyclone is getting off of the road now, and you can still see it's very strong. This is a very strong and very big mesocyclone, which could drop a tornado at any time. Thankfully, it didn't over Hazelhurst or Interstate 55. Um, but we also have this weaker area of rotation down to the south of Hazelhurst, which is also going to impact Interstate 55, which could possibly lead to a um, a um, a hazard for Interstate 55 and any cars that are driving along Interstate 55. So if you know you're going to be driving south of Hazelhurst in this warning code, um, you do not want to risk it with that mesocyclone. I suggest you pull off to the side of the road and don't progress any further down the road. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, or you just want to say hi, please leave a comment, or sorry, something in the chat that I can read. Um, Thankfully that this mesocyclone did not touch down a tornado on Interstate 55 or on Hazelhurst, and it just passed over it. But we still have this much weaker mesocyclone, which may drop a tornado at any time. How severe is this tornado? Is it strong enough to tear apart houses or any of the tornadoes? Um, so with the Hazelhurst, the very large and powerful mesocyclone that you're seeing near Hazelhurst, um, it's that it's a very strong mesocyclone, and with the fact that we were expected to have the possibility of strong tornadoes and weak tornadoes were expected today, um we could very well see anywhere from EF2 to EF5 tornadoes, especially with a mesocyclone this size and this strength. If it were to touch down, it could definitely tear apart houses, but we would have to wait to see the damage in the morning if it did, because it's raining heavily and it's in the middle of the night. But outside of that, we've had a couple of touchdowns. I think we've had so far at least three tornadoes that I've known of touched down so far today, um, in either Louisiana or Mississippi. So, um, yeah. Uh, But that mesocyclone down to the south, south of Hazelhurst, is going to be approaching Interstate 55 in the next couple of minutes. So you want to be not progressing any further. You do not want to be pushing any further south of Hazelhurst, as that weak mesocyclone could potentially lead to lead to some impacts, some hazards on Interstate 55. If you know that you're going to be caught up in it, you want to be pulling off to the side of the road and not continuing any further, getting down in a ditch and getting away from your car and protecting yourself from flying debris. As well as those strong RFD winds that we had blow over the road, that could also be leading to a little bit of debris on the road, making things a little bit slippery. Plus the just crazy amount of rain that we've had. Is it moving south? Will it go into the ocean? No, it is going eastward. It should progress over the Dixie states by tomorrow. Um, should progress over the Dixie states by tomorrow, and potentially spawn some tornadoes tomorrow as well. But it shouldn't be as strong as what we're seeing today. Um, uh, I think that Canton system is probably going to be left to expire. I'm not really seeing anything too crazy with it. Well, I mean, there is a little bit of rotation, but it's not really too great. Hurricane? No. This is a severe weather outbreak right now with a trough. Can tornadoes swim? I mean, they can if they do things. Or if there was a supercell in the ocean, which happens somewhat often, especially around Florida. But yeah, that's where we're gonna be taking a look at in this live stream is those tornadoes, the threats for tornadoes today, as well as additional threats for damaging winds and hail as well. But by far the biggest thing that we're supposed to be covering um, in this live stream is going to be the strong tornado threat. And then I think I dropped something, but I don't know where it went. No, it's right here. By the way, thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. But thankfully, that mesocyclone did not spawn a tornado and impact Hazelhurst or Interstate 55 with the amount of strength that we could potentially see from that. And we actually do have a magnitude report from a storm chaser with upwards of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, likely due to those RFD winds and some from the mesocyclone. Again, strong winds were expected with this. Um, especially with the meso or the RFD winds, those were very strong. And as I was mentioning previously, we could potentially see some debris on the road, which could be leading to some hazards along Interstate 55, anywhere between Wesson and Crystal Springs. If you're having to go south of Crystal Springs on Interstate 55, or north of Wesson or Beauregard on Interstate 55, I highly suggest that you proceed with caution. I don't think that mesocyclone with that weaker mesocyclone is really going to really. I don't think it's really going to provide any threats anymore. What is a mesocycle? Uh, Wait, I there's a weird like emoji thing right next to the chat, so I can't really like read one of the words that you said. What is a mesocycle? Is that a fancy bike for wind? Um, I mean, you could think of it a bike or of a wheel, but it's like it's rotating air. Okay, so our radar site. See how our radar site is currently stationed in Brandon, which is in the northeast. Um, Reds go away from the radar site, and greens and blues go towards the radar site. So you can see how those side by side in a counterclockwise fashion would show rotation, and that's basically just what rotation is. It's a mesocyclone. Could it possibly hit New Orleans? Yes, it does have the threat of hitting New Orleans overnight. We can check the radar for New Orleans. As of right now, it doesn't really look like we have anything really going for New Orleans. Everything's back towards the west, this far south. Um, but it could possibly impact New Orleans in the very early evening to yeah, very no, sorry, very early morning tomorrow to overnight hours of today. And we just got another tornado warning for Alexandria. We currently have a tornado on the ground actually with our correlation coefficient. Notice how it's surrounded by reds. Um, with a little bit of blues in the center. I can't really see the rotation, but there is rotation somewhere in there. There is a tornado on the ground right now. It is moving through mostly rural areas, so I don't really think there's going to be too much of a crazy hazard with this. However, there should be some roads in the way in some small towns that could potentially be impacted by this thing, but nothing really too crazy. Estimated damage cost, any possible deaths. Um, well, I haven't so far, I don't. The first two tornadoes I saw earlier today, um, one came very close to a village, and it picked back up, thankfully. I don't think it did any damage. And then we also had a second one that touched down for a very brief amount of time. Then we also had that third one, which I think tracked through mostly rural areas, and I don't think it really impacted anything. The only like big hazards or direct impacts that I think we've seen tonight are probably from damaging winds and hail. We are definitely probably going to see a couple little bit of hail damage as well as some damaging wind damage in some of these locations, especially with the very strong RFD wind gusts that we were seeing with that very strong mesocyclone that passed over Interstate 55. And I think that tornado warning for the Canton tornado is probably going to be expired here in the next couple of minutes. I don't think they're gonna update it. It has 13 minutes left, and they're not updating it because it's out of the warning box. So it's probably just gonna be left to expire. So let's actually focus mostly on that one tornado that we know is currently on the. Wait, where did it go? Wait, wait, hold on. I'm confused for a second. Wasn't there a tornado somewhere back, or tornado warning somewhere back here with a tornado on the ground, or was it this? I swear we saw a tornado warning back towards the west that had a tornado on the ground. Wait, or did that just quickly expire? I'm a little bit confused. No, it's right here. They just didn't update it. They canceled the tornado warning and didn't update it, even though there's still debris signature on the ground. There's still a tornado on the ground as of right now. They just canceled the tornado warning for some reason, um, which is very odd. Can it pick up cars possibly? Yes, if there were some in the way, especially if those couple mesocyclones that passed over Interstate 55 did touch down. They could have definitely picked up some cars. Um, I don't know why they expired that one tornado warning near Alexandria that has a tornado on the ground currently indicated by our correlation coefficient. It's kind of odd that they just let it expire like that. I've never seen the SBC do that because there is a tornado on the ground. They just canceled it for some reason. This isn't the first time, or sorry, not the SBC, it's the NWS that issues tornado warnings. Uh, this isn't the only time I've seen them seen a tornado go completely unwarned with a very clear and visible correlation coefficient drop, even though they had it warned earlier. I guess they just let it go. It's so confusing. Um, let's take a look at that one mesocyclone that looks to be increasing in strength a little bit. It does look like there is actually some damage in Hazelhurst for some damaging winds. Tree down. This is likely not from a tornado that touched down, but likely from those very strong RFD wind gusts that we're getting up to like the 80 to 100 mile per hour wind gusts in the RFD, which isn't associated with a tornado directly. However, it is associated with a tornado's wind field, um, but it isn't from the tornado itself. Um, and you can see the sheer prominence in that hook echo there as well. So again, this could drop a tornado at any time, and we did see damage in Hazelhurst with very strong winds, likely from the RFD. Let's actually check back up on that Alexandria tornado. Let's see what they're doing with it. It's still there. They haven't really done anything with it. I don't know why they expired it. Yeah, you can see the newest correlation coefficient update still there, still tornado on the ground. They just let the warning disappear for some reason. Not sure why. That is very odd. Um, but yeah, okay. Yeah, that tornado warning for Canton did expire. The rotation is still there. It's somewhat strong. I think they might actually add a tornado warning back for it. What's the max velocity of the tornado so far? Um, so far in the mesocyclone itself, we haven't seen a tornado touchdown, but for the mesocyclone and not the RFD, currently we're getting uh, wind gusts up to 96 miles per hour, which is absolutely insane. Um, that's a very strong trough there. Sorry, not trough, very strong mesocyclone. I have no idea why I said trough. It's just getting late. Hold on, give me just a couple seconds. All right. Um, yeah. Again, so far, there's no set maximum strength that we've seen from a tornado so far. We would have to have measurements from the tornado itself. We don't really get a good idea of that on radar. But we can see like the sheer strength of this. this mesocyclone getting up to like close to 100 miles per hour going towards the radar site in that mesocyclone. We also just got another tornado warning for that second area of rotation down to the south of the one that impacted Hazelhurst. Um, it's a little funky looking, and it's not where the hook actually is. The hook is more towards the south, but we are seeing some of that rotation back towards the north. I don't know uh, why the box is placed as it is. We also have to watch for this. This is probably hail contamination because we do have some hail right in that area. Um, so there's probably not a tornado on the ground with that, but we could definitely see a tornado drop at any time with that mesocyclone. Same with the mesocyclone to the north. Let's go take a look at that one unborn tornado warning or unborn tornado that is potentially still on the ground. Um, yeah, looks like it. Nope. Wait. I mean, possibly. This might be a little bit of contamination. It's not really organized. So, I mean, it may be a little bit of contamination. May also be a debris signature from a tornado. It's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. Um, let's mainly focus on these two mesocyclones, though. Um, this one, the one to the south's having a little bit of a tough time. You can see kind of disorganized mid-level flow, or sorry, not mid-level flow, disorganized mesocyclone. How does this compare to Reed Timmer tornado? To the Reed Timmer tornado? Well, Reed Timmer's seen a lot of tornadoes. Which tornado? You have to be a little bit more specific about the Reed Timmer tornado. I know that he is storm chasing down in the Mississippi River Valley today. The Timmer tornado is named Timmer. I'm asking about the Reed event. Are you want to read about the Timmer tornado? Is that what you're asking me? I don't think I can't really find a tornado called the Timmer tornado. You have to show me something about that. But right now, Reed Timmer is chasing in the Mississippi River Valley um, today. I'm actually gonna tune into his live stream just really
Flash flood
quickly.
warning includes the
See what's going
Natchez
on.
area.
Let's see what he saw earlier.
Yeah, it does include Natchez.
For members, thank you, channel members. Need to have a bunch of these special cables. These special cables. There's no guide to big CGs though.
Can't see where the entrance is.
As far as I can tell, I don't think he saw a tornado today. You're the dude from Bristol, Tennessee. I feel like I remember you, but I don't remember. Oh wait, time lapse. Um, Bristol, Tennessee does sound familiar though. I'm glad to have you back though. Welcome to the live stream. Currently, we're going over the tornado outbreak for the Mississippi River Valley. We're currently focused on these two mesocyclones. Um, just to the east, just to the east of Interstate 55, that did do damage with mostly RFD wind gusts in Hazelhurst. They were mostly RFDs. We didn't see a debris signature from a tornado. So they were most likely RFD wind gusts because the wind gusts from the RFDs were getting very strong. And this is actually an observed tornado warning for this for the southern tornado warning is an observed tornado warning, so that does mean that someone has called in and confirmed that a tornado is currently ongoing for this area. A little bit of contamination. It's very unorganized up in there, so there may be a weak tornado that I can't really tell on our correlation coefficient. Um, but this is an observed tornado warning, so that does mean that someone has called in and seen some sort of tornadic attributes with that system. And then for the northern one, we are seeing that mesocyclone become extremely disorganized very slowly over time. It did look much more organized earlier, but it's slowly becoming disorganized, but it's still fairly strong and still could potentially drop a tornado. And then another location that we may also have to watch is possibly this. I just noticed this. We do have a little bit of rotation there, but nothing really too concerning with that. Um, but notice how strong the inflow is there. Inflow winds are getting up to 100, I think 100 miles per hour. Yeah, up to 100 miles per hour on inflow winds with that mesocyclone. So with that observed tornado warning. So this is potentially going to drop a tornado, and according to observed tornado warning, there may already be one on the ground, right up in there. That may be correlation coefficient drop, but it's kind of hard to tell. It may not be because there is that air gap between precipitation, which may be what that is. So it's honestly kind of hard to tell with that. But according to observed tornado warning, there could be one on the ground as of right now. And then that mesocyclone is going to continue to get weaker and weaker and disorganized over time. So we're just gonna watch these continue. Oh, we actually have another tornado warning for the town of Carthage. If I can switch radar, nope, we're at the best radar site. So as of right now, we have very odd looking rotation, but there is rotation nonetheless. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can definitely see it. Um, how this will affect the Bronx rain. Wait, hold on. I can't really see. Is that BRONX? Um, I don't know what you're asking me, to be honest. But we do have a little bit of rotation. We do have a tornado warning currently issued for Carthage. Um, and with the amount of rainfall that we see around that, this could potentially be a rain-wrapped system. So it's going to be fairly dangerous, especially with it being at night. It's going to be very hard to see, and you don't want to be taking any chances. Um, again, this could potentially impact Carthage based on the warning cone. Hopefully, it doesn't drop a tornado. The rotation, it looks not very good whatsoever. They probably just wanted to be more on the safe side with this little amount of rotation. But overall, this is not really a good. This is not very good rotation. I wouldn't really see a tornado come out of this. But again, we gotta play it safe. There could potentially be a tornado that may be dropped on Carthage or before Carthage. So if you do live in Carthage or any of the surrounding areas, you definitely want to be taking shelter from that, as that could potentially be a dangerous situation. Um, but as far as the other mesocyclones, currently nothing really too notable as a notable debris signature of a tornado being on the ground as of right now, but you can still see rotation. Uh, there may be a little bit of something right here. There may actually be a very small and very brief and weak tornado, a very compact tornado, probably a rope tornado. Um, in some of the rural areas, I think that I can count that as like 4 or 5 tornadoes that I've seen today in the Mississippi River Valley. This could potentially be a very weak and very small tornado. Spectrum width does help a little bit with strong updraft. You can see that there. They are kind of off-centered. Um, so it's a little bit hard to tell, but that may be a correlation coefficient drop, and it may be indicating a very weak tornado on the ground, and it probably won't last very long. But how are y'all doing tonight? Feel free to ask any questions in the chat or say hi. Um, yeah. And some other threats that we are expected to possibly see tonight in the Mississippi River Valley is from the amount of rain, the sheer amount of rain, the very widespread rainfall that we are expected to see tonight is going to be giving us a marginal threat for flash flooding and some isolated rain showers, or sorry, isolated flash flooding in some low-lying areas. But how y'all doing tonight? Doing good, just resisting the urge to make jokes that aren't that that are unfunny. Yeah, let's try and not make let's try and not like make fun of the current situation that's going on, because um yeah, people are genuinely scared of this stuff, and I'm here to cover it for them. Wasn't joking about the tornado. All right, well, let's just well, either or, let's just not. This just goes for the entire chat. Let's try and refrain from making any jokes about the current situation that's going on right now. I used to live in Louisiana. Um, yeah, how'd that go? What was it like in Louisiana? Was it all marsh and swamp like they say it is? All right, well, as of right now, there's not really too much going on as far as these tornadoes. They are the two areas that may be of most concern are going to be Braxton and New Hebron. What is the correlation coefficient? Um, the correlation coefficient is how much do the objects that the radar site is picking up, how do those sizes of those objects correlate to one another? So if you think about it, if you have rain, um, if you just have rain, a bunch of rain, uh, those raindrops are relatively tiny and about the same size, so that's going to show up as a high correlation coefficient. That's going to be in the deep reds, and yeah. But if you have no, like, what is the number? Um, well, uh, for what? What is the correlation for what? Correlation coefficient for what? The little rope tornado that's on the ground right now? As I can give you that. It's currently at 0.73%. This is probably not really going to be too much of a crazy thing right here. You still see a little bit of rotation here. It's not the greatest. It's very, very weak. And I'm surprised that this is actually supporting a very brief and very tiny tornado. Um, if a tornado at all, but I mean, it is there. It is supporting a tornado, a very tiny tornado. And that's around 4 to 5 tornadoes that we've had tonight, or that I've seen or know about that has occurred tonight. We'll probably get the um, full amount tomorrow. But we still have these ongoing tornado warnings. We have this mesocyclone, which was that extremely powerful mesocyclone that passed over Interstate 55 in Hazelhurst a couple minutes back. That's dying down. And we also have this one for down to the south for New Hebron that could impact New Hebron. Um, it does look fairly strong, but it does say it's okay. Never mind. That's been decreased to a radar indicated, and then the northern one has been increased to a observed tornado warning. So I guess they just switched places. What is the map over right now? We are currently over we're over Mississippi, southern Mississippi. That's where the biggest threat for tornadoes is currently right now. We also have a tornado warning for Carthage here. There's not really a lot going on in terms of rotation, but you can definitely see that we have rotation there. But there's definitely there's no tornado on the ground, um, thankfully, because it's directly above Carthage. And but it could potentially drop a tornado at any time. So um, it could drop a tornado at any time, so you'd want to be taking shelter if you live in Carthage and putting as many walls between you and the outside world in the most lowest floor of your house in a sturdy building. When's the merch dropping? I don't know. I probably won't make merch for a while because I'm still have like less than 200 subscribers. Let's take a look at that southern tornado warning for New Hebron that's going towards New Hebron. You can see a very prominent hooking feature there and very prominent rotation. It's outside of the warning box a little bit, but it is still tornado warned. Um, Currently, nothing really indicated as far as a tornado currently on the ground or debris signature, but you can see with the new scan, you can see much more clearly there. It's still very prominent hooking feature. So that could potentially drop a tornado at any time. So if you do live in New Hebron, you want to be taking necessary precautions for this and staying weather alert and taking shelter, putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, staying away from doors or windows, and um, and uh, and just being in a very sturdy building. Um, you'd wear it. Well, I don't know. Probably won't drop it for a while. You're probably gonna be, probably gonna be dropping it, or sorry, waiting a couple years. Um, all right, my finger was doing something weird. Do you think stronger buildings made of things like concrete and brick in Louisiana could be damaged, or mostly just weaker things like sheds? Um, with the threat that we currently have today, tonight, uh, we have the threat of strong tornadoes today. So anywhere from EF5, EF2 to EF5 tornadoes could potentially be possible anywhere in southern Mississippi tonight, which is what we're watching out for, as well as more weaker tornadoes are expected, like that rope tornado, which may still be ongoing, but it probably isn't anymore. There may be a little bit of a weak correlation coefficient drop there, but it probably is lifted back up. Um, but yeah, weak tornadoes are expected. We've already seen a couple tornadoes today, and the possibility of strong tornadoes could be possible. Um, but that's what we're hoping to avoid. So, to answer your question, stronger buildings could potentially be damaged if we did get a tornado strong enough and it did impact um, a more densely populated area. Um, But I think overall, I think more weaker buildings are probably going to be more at risk because we have more of a higher threat for some weaker tornadoes, a few weaker tornadoes than we do a couple, or like one or two to a couple strong tornadoes. Which I don't think we've seen any strong tornadoes. Actually, we may have seen one strong tornado today, but thankfully it didn't hit any populated areas. And that tornado was actually the one that I I I that caused me to go live again. I previously didn't go live. I stopped the live stream earlier because I was not ready for going live tonight at all. I was very tired and stuff. So um, now that I had a little bit of time to rest, I feel much better. So, but we're just gonna continue to watch these tornado warnings for the one in Carthage. It does look like the rotation is continuing to ramp up a little bit. It is increasing a little bit. It's still fairly on the weaker side. We don't have any tornado debris signatures just yet. Um, so there's probably not a tornado on the ground, but one may drop at any time, but it doesn't look like it's going towards any densely populated areas. However, Pearl River may be at risk, so if you do live in Pearl River, I highly suggest you take shelter immediately. Um, but overall, I think the biggest tornado threat that we are expecting to see out of any of these tornado warnings right now is probably going to be the southern one, south of the Big Papa mesocyclone that we saw a few like an hour ago. Um, you can see very very strong mesocyclone there. Um, I mean, it's not very strong. It's definitely fairly strong. It's not weak though, but it's also not extremely strong like we were seeing with the northern one earlier. And speaking of the northern one, it's basically entirely faded away. I think this tornado warning is probably going to be left to expire. You can see it's very, very small and very weak there, so it's probably just going to be left to expire in the next couple of minutes. And it probably will not be updated, but I think this one is still probably going to probably probably going to remain because of how prominent the rotation is, how strong it is, as well as how prominent the hooking features are. As of right now, we don't have any indication that a tornado is on the ground just yet. However, one may be able to drop at any time, and you guys have to be able to be prepared for that. Especially in New Hebron, I highly suggest you take shelter immediately, as a tornado could potentially drop at any time with this mesocyclone. But overall, I think the northern mesocyclone is probably gonna die down. It's probably gonna remain dead. I actually kind of want to take a look at the timeline of that very strong mesocyclone earlier, just so you guys can get an idea of it, or just overall just see it. So you can see it like back before it really came to Hazelhurst, you can see it was very strong and it was very big as well. And then right around Hazelhurst, it really organized and really ramped up. However, it didn't really impact as a tornado. I don't think a tornado was on the ground for this, but again, you can see those very strong RFD winds there in the blues and into the very light purples. Um, Leading to some damage for Hazelhurst and along Interstate 55. So this was a very strong mesocyclone, and I'm so glad that it did not produce a tornado before hitting Hazelhurst. Hazelhurst really dodged a bullet with that one. Do you think the brakes drains could be damaged because brakes bridges in a smaller city, possibly without the needed infrastructure for a tornado? Um, could be damaged. I mean, they could definitely be damaged by a tornado. I think overall, as far as the city drains for rainwater, I think it's going to be more of a threat of flash flooding, and if those clog or not, than really tornadic damage, because we are expected to see very widespread, very heavy rainfall, and very long-lasting rainfall for a couple locations in the Mississippi River Valley today, and that's going to be leading to an isolated threat for some flash flooding. We can actually check that outlook really quickly, see if it might have changed at all, because the last I checked it was in the very early morning for the rainfall total, or sorry, the hydrological outlooks. So we can take a look at that really quickly. Um, yeah, right now it's just a marginal threat for flash flooding. So we could see some isolated flash flooding with some of the rain showers that we are expected to see today. But overall, I think it comes down more to the amount of rainfall and if those drains clog or not than really tornadic damage. Two of the more concerning areas that we're probably going to be looking at is going to be probably, of course, that one mesocyclone, which is one of them for New Hebron, just to the north of New Hebron. Which again, in New Hebron, you definitely want to be taking shelter from that, taking necessary precautions, putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, and the lowest floor is your house, away from any windows or any doors, in a sturdy structure, as well as this little thing right here. This has been developing over the last couple of radar scans and could potentially lead to a tornadic threat in the next couple of minutes. All right. Um. All right. So as far as what's going on currently, again, we do have those two areas of rotation here. uh, New Hebron especially is becoming a little bit more deorganized here. Um, we're gonna have to see how that pans out. There is still rotation; it still could possibly drop a tornado. I don't know how well it's gonna be able to do that though, because of how disorganized the mesocyclone is. Just kind of overall just looks like a mess. Then we also have this one area of rotation that is developing to the north of Delow or to the east of Braxton, which could potentially lead to some hazards in the future. And we're gonna have to watch that develop over the next couple of minutes. However, for the tornado warning for Carthage, I haven't really been covering all that much because it hasn't been really doing anything, and it's overall fairly weak. As of right now, it is barely there. I think that this tornado warning is just going to be left to expire. There's currently no indication of a tornado on the ground. Plus, that it is just very weak rotation there. We also may have to watch some of these little areas of rotation here may be able to pose a little bit of a hazard, and we're gonna have to watch them. But overall, I don't think they're really gonna be doing anything too crazy. The primary threats as far as tornadoes is probably going to be this and this. And remember how I mentioned that mesocyclone to the north with that little rope tornado? Um, the Big Papa mesocyclone has pretty much faded away in its entirety. However, the little rope tornado mesocyclone that produced that little rope tornado earlier is becoming more strong and strengthening over time, and is leading to this extended tornado warning for this area here. I don't know why they're issuing a tornado warning for the south of a mesocyclone that's racing off to the northeast. Hopefully they'll update that in the next couple of minutes, but it doesn't really make all that much sense to me. And you can see we have a very small tornado warning here. They really cut down on the size of the tornado warning box here. However, we do have a couple areas of rotation that are probably fighting to really take hold here. Um, Very disorganized right now, so it may have a rough time trying to produce a tornado, but still tornadoes may be able to be produced from this, as it does have the tornado possible signature on it. And you can see those inflow winds are extremely strong, getting up to 90 miles per hour. So even if we don't see a tornado, we could definitely see damage from those inflow winds that could potentially be tornado-like, especially in New Hebron. Still be taking shelter even if you aren't going to be directly impacted by a tornado, and if you're outside of that warning cone, because you could be seeing a tornado strength inflow winds that could potentially be leading to some lower end tornado like damage. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, or you would like or you would just like to say hi, please feel free to ask them in the chat, or use the chat, or yeah. Yeah, we do have some damage in Hazelhurst from those RFD winds. Again, we didn't really see a direct tornadic or direct tornadic impacts from Hazelhurst from that mesocyclone. We didn't. I don't think we saw a tornado touch down. Um, but we definitely saw some damage with those very strong our RFD wind gusts that were upwards of 100 miles per hour. That definitely did damage to parts of Hazelhurst and probably littered Interstate 55 with some debris. We can actually take a look at some of these reports here. Um, Minor damage to a gas station. Uh, what else? Trees downed and trees downed. Metal roof blown off building. Um, and down trees. So yeah, trees are down. There's damage to buildings, and that was mostly because of those RFD wind gusts, which we're getting up to tornado strength. So RFD wind gusts do have the potential to do that, get up to 100 miles per hour, and that's entirely possible with the setup that we are seeing today, because we are definitely expected to possibly see some tornadoes that could be strong today. So that's what we're hoping not to see. We might have already seen one earlier today, and we've already seen a couple tornadoes. So um, and it's not stopping yet. We still have a couple tornado warnings as well. We don't have really any signature that really indicates that a tornado would currently be on the ground with this system. However, you can see anywhere in those blues here, very strong inflow winds, and that's going to be doing damage to the areas that it impacts. Very, very strong inflow winds. And you can still see that rotation there. The greens are going towards the radar site relative to the radar site, but they are still blowing away. But you can see those extremely strong blues going towards the radar site, so there is still rotation there. And then we also have this area of rotation that did produce a very weak and very brief rope tornado for a couple of minutes, which is strengthening over time, and we're probably gonna have to watch that for any tornadic possibilities in the future. But you can definitely see how prominent that hook echo is in our reflectivity with that southern mesocyclone. I guess they're continuing the tornado warning for Carthage. Overall rotation is fairly low end, but there is overall rotation there, and there's currently no indication of a tornado on the ground. I don't think it touched down, but I guess they're continuing that tornado warning. Not really sure why, to be honest. And by the way, if you guys are planning on driving through any of these areas, or you currently are, um, tornadoes aren't the only threat in the Mississippi River Valley today. We are expected to see the possibility of strong damaging winds, as we already have with some of these storms, as well as some hail as well. So, and also some isolated flash flooding in some low-lying areas. So those are some other hazards that you guys should be watching out for if you have any plans on driving to the Mississippi River Valley tonight. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're just gonna sit here and watch this continue to develop. Overall, the southern mesocyclone is still fairly disorganized, but the rotation is fairly strong, even if it is mostly disorganized. And then that rotation to the north that produced that rope tornado is moving out of the warning box. That they should, I think, update that here in a couple minutes. Oh, we have another tornado warning. Um, We have another tornado warning for Bude, as well as Brookhaven. Yeah, we're in Mississippi right now. We have a tornado warning for Bude and Brookhaven, Mississippi. Uh, what's a better radar site that we can look at here? Actually, we have a couple of tornado warnings outside of the two that we've been focusing on. We have a total of 5 tornado warnings currently ongoing. So for Boot, very strong rotation there, very prominent rotation, as well as very strong damaging winds. Um, uh, Again, anywhere in the warning cone, Boot or Brookhaven, you need to be taking shelter, putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, staying away from windows or doors, as well as staying in a sturdy structure in the lowest floor possible. Um, and taking necessary precautions for this, as overall there's not really anything indicating that tornado is currently on the ground. However, it could drop a tornado at any time, and you can see with our spectrum width, we definitely have a strong updraft there, and a very prominent hook as well. And then we also have this other tornado warning. What's a better radar site that we can look at here? This is actually an observed tornado warning, with a tornado actually on the ground currently. Very prominent rotation. It's a little bit more on the weaker side, but there is a debris signature with correlation coefficient. So there is currently a tornado on the ground as of right now. Thankfully, this is in more rural areas, so this shouldn't really pose all that much of a threat. Um, but again, there is a tornado currently ongoing. I think that's around the fifth to sixth to fourth to fifth. I think the fifth or sixth tornado that we've seen, or that I've seen, or that I know about that has occurred tonight. Um, yeah. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. Um, um, and thank you all for tuning in. So, how y'all doing tonight? On Thanksgiving food? Um, yeah. Thanksgiving is they give you a lot of food. Um, Yeah, I'm probably gonna be eating good on Thanksgiving. Um, are you doing good, Benjamin? That's good to hear. Currently, we're just watching this tornado that is currently on the ground in mainly rural areas, so it isn't posing an immediate threat to life or property as of right now. But there is a tornado currently on the ground. But again, if you guys have any questions about what's currently going on, it does look like that tornado is weakening up a little bit. So again, if you guys have any questions about what's currently going on, please feel free to ask in the chat. can I explain what is happening? Okay, so as far as the atmospheric setup, let's actually switch to our models real quickly. Let's go to our high resolution models so we can get an idea of what's actually going on as far as the setup atmospherically. So see our 500 millibars. Um, Notice how our isobars uh, are curving a lot. Um, and from the sheer strength of how our isobars um, or how the sheer strength of our 500 millibars from this trough that we are seeing flow into the Mississippi River Valley. Um, so notice the veering of those winds. That's going to be giving us our directional shear, quite a bit of it too, to support the threat for a few tornadoes, some of which could be strong. And then notice how those isobars are kind of spreading apart. I'm going to draw it a little bit better. Um, Notice how those isobars are spreading apart a little bit. That gives us a little bit of a void in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere doesn't really like void, so it uses air from the lower levels and rises it up to fill that space, which is how you get wide scale lifting motion. So that's a very big factor to what's going on today, and see how strong that mid-level jet is as well. Um, Up to like close to 100 miles per hour, and as that just continues to feed into the region, that's just gonna continuously upkeep our severe thunderstorms. Um, and then notice how our isobars are floating out of the Gulf of Mexico, and our low pressure system is somewhere up here. It's a little bit more towards the north. I didn't really draw that all that well, but notice how our isobars are flowing out of the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to lead to constant replenishment of instability and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. If you can actually look at that really quickly with our most unstable cape. Um, you can just see how the moisture just constantly flows out of the Gulf of Mexico over the next couple of hours and overnight to constantly fuel and replenish our severe thunderstorms and tornadoes for today. And then we can take a look at our energy helicity index values, which take into account our instability and our directional shear to give us the best idea of of the threat for tornadoes based on instability and directional shear. And you can see very indicative energy helicity index values of that 10% tornado threat. Notice how some areas are a little bit better than others. That's going to be indicative of that threat for some tornadoes that could potentially be stronger than others. Um, Hence the threat for some quite strong tornadoes could be possible for today. And then we can also take a look at our SIGTOR um, as well, and you can notice how some areas are a little bit stronger than others, but overall we are seeing some fairly widespread decent SIGTOR readings, which is going to be very indicative of a fairly good tornado threat for today. So that's what's going on atmospherically. And it does look like we still have a tornado that is on the ground. It is probably about to lift back up though. It's not really doing a lot down there. It's weakened over time, so it's probably gonna lift back up here soon. But let's take a look at this tornado warning here. Let's take a look at some of these other ones. Let's go to the Jackson radar real quick. Um, you can see very strong rotation here. Very prominent, very indicative of a threat for tornadoes. Um, of tornadic development ongoing. Sorry, it's a little slow right now. It's very late at night right now, and I've been doing this for how long? I don't know how long. I've been doing it for almost 2 hours. Very strong tornadic signature there, with especially with our velocities, very strong rotation. However, there's nothing currently indicating a tornado that's on the ground as far as the debris signature. However, this may drop a tornado at any time. So the town of Brookhaven or Interstate 55. Um, Interstate 55 just cannot get a break tonight. Interstate 55 or Brookhaven should be taking shelter immediately, as a tornado could possibly drop at any second with this. um, and we'll know it on our correlation coefficient. As of right now, there's nothing on the ground um, as far as what we can see, but it could drop at any time, especially between radar scans. And then we also have this weird tornado warning. I'm not sure what's going on with this one anymore. I think it's just being let to expire. We do have a little bit of rotation that I thought was keeping up that tornado warning right here. This did spawn a very weak and very brief rope tornado for a couple of minutes earlier, and then we also have very, very strong rotation here for this tornado warning, and um, that could also be spawning. Could spawn a tornado at any time, but as of right now, there's nothing indicating that a tornado is currently on the ground. This may begin to die down though, because there's no really prominent hooking features anymore, so that should slowly fade away over time, possibly. But overall, still very strong rotation. And even if we aren't seeing direct impacts from a tornado, you can see anywhere in the blue is very, very strong damaging winds, upwards of 80 to 90 miles per hour. So even if there isn't a tornado on the ground right now doing damage, in fact, we actually do have a couple tornado reports right here. TDS noted along Timberland Road, and one right here where it says TDS noted along Jupiter Road. Um, So yeah, so we've had a couple. There's probably a couple brief touchdowns somewhere in the mix of all this unorganized rotation. It's kind of a little bit of a mess, and I'm also having a mess trying to figure out how I'm gonna explain everything right now because it's so late. Um, But yeah, okay. So as far as these damaging winds, the 90 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour winds, even if we don't have a tornado currently on the ground, those very strong damaging winds are going to do possibly tornadic-like damage. So if you live in any of the areas that could potentially be impacted by these very strong winds, like New Hebron or Mount Olive, you or Monticello, Silver Creek, and Prentice, you definitely want to be taking cover immediately as flying debris could potentially become deadly. But yeah, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask. We do have a little bit of rotation here that I noticed. Um, it was a little bit more better. There was a little bit more prominent hooking features with the last radar scan, but you can see some rotation there beginning to organize. It's organizing up a little bit, but there's still quite a bit of organization that has to do. Yeah, I'm stretching. This is very tiring right now. Yeah, okay. Tornado warning for Brookhaven still, as well as Interstate 55. Um, there's still a tornado ongoing. This may actually be beginning to touch down, as we do have possibly a little bit of a correlation coefficient drop right there, but that could also be a little bit of contamination. It's kind of hard to tell for certain because it's a little bit off center from our velocity couplet. Um, it's probably mostly contamination. As of right now, there's not really anything super indicative of a debris signature or anything that would really show that a tornado is currently on the ground with us. But again, a tornado could drop at any time. This is a very tight and very strong area of rotation. So again, a tornado could possibly drop at any time with this system. So if you do live in Brookhaven or you're driving along Interstate 55 and you know that you're in this tornado warning cone, you definitely want to be pulling off to the side of the road and getting in a ditch and getting away from your vehicle and protecting yourself from any flying debris. And if you live in Brookhaven um, or this one town name that I can't pronounce, um, please be staying weather alert and watching for updates, as well as taking shelter, putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, staying away from windows and doors, getting in the lowest floor of your house, and making sure that building is sturdy as well. and possibly something to even protect yourself with. So, um, yeah, again, a tornado could possibly drop at any time with any of these tornado warnings that are currently ongoing. Let's take a look at the one that's up into Carthage. I'm not sure what they're doing with this one because now it's outside the warning box. They really haven't been keeping up with this one, have they? But they still have some rotation currently ongoing, and nothing indicating that tornado is currently on the ground as far as a debris signature. But again, a tornado may drop at any time with that. Uh, Sorry, with that. Uh, they really need to keep up with that area of rotation there. They haven't really been doing a good job with it. Yeah, by far still that wait wait what? Okay, well, I guess all the warnings expired in the blink of an eye. I was actually confused a little bit. I thought something just broke, but the warnings just expired. It kind of makes sense a little bit. The rotation's kind of a little bit funky to see, and there's not really a good hooking feature anymore. So there's probably not really crazy rotation that would really be indicative of a tornado threat. So I understand why they stopped with those tornado warnings. We may be able to see an additional one right here because we actually have some prominent rotation. Um, but we are still going to see the threat of some very strong damaging winds um, along that system as well, with damaging wind that could be getting up to 90 to 80 miles per hour along that system. And then for the system for Brookhaven, I think we're going to be focusing on that as from here on out. Uh, Something I do want to note really quickly is that tornado warning for Carthage did expire finally. So I guess they are keeping up with it. But this very strong, very tight area of rotation here, um, it's still going. Very strong RFD, a very strong inflow as well. And again, it could drop a tornado at any time. There's nothing really indicating that tornado is currently on the ground. However, again, it could drop at any time. And you definitely want to be taking shelter. If you live in Brookhaven, make sure you're putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, staying away from windows or doors, getting into the lowest floor of your building, um, into a basement if you have one, and potentially make sure that building is also sturdy and can actually support it, and it's not something like a shack. So um, yeah, make sure you're staying safe. If you live in Brookhaven, make sure you're taking shelter. And if you live in or if you're traveling down Interstate 55 near Brookhaven, Mississippi. Wait, I think it's actually Louisiana. No, it's Mississippi. Brookhaven, Mississippi. Um, make sure that you are pulling over to the side of the road and not continuing any further if you know that you're going to go through the warning cone, as you do not want to try and risk driving through it. You do not want to be caught in that tornado in your vehicle. Um, you want to be pulling over to the side of the road, getting out of your car, getting away from your car, and getting down into a ditch, and protecting yourself from flying debris. If you're traveling down Interstate 55, and same thing goes for if you're going to be caught up in the warning cone, you're going to be abandoning your vehicle. But if you're somewhere around Hazelhurst or Wesson, then you could probably just pull over to the side of the road and not abandon your vehicle as long as you're outside the warning code. But do keep in mind that these warning codes are subject to change and could potentially change directions. Let's take a look at this one tornado warning that's down here to the west of sorry, to the east of Moreville. What's the best radar site for this? I actually can't find one because I have all them off. All right, so it does look like we do have a tornado on the ground currently. Actually, it is checking through mostly rural areas. I think this is the tornado that we've kind of just seen mostly stationary. Um, track through mainly rural areas. A little bit of a debris signature there, so it may be on the ground as well as the fairly prominent tornado rotation there. So yeah, that's what we're looking at as far as that tornado warning. It does look like we may possibly be able to get a second one more towards the north with this area of rotation, but we're gonna have to wait and see with that. Well, all right. Well, uh, just want to thank you guys for tuning in so far and sticking with me, especially with it getting late and I'm getting tired. I'm gonna continue to cover this. It does look like we got that other tornado warning I was talking about with that second area of rotation. Um, Not really a indicator that a tornado is currently on the ground. However, to the southwest of that, we do have an indicator that a tornado is on the ground with a very weak tornadic debris signature there on our correlation coefficient. So we definitely possibly have a tornado on the ground um, um, in mainly rural areas of. I'm pretty sure this is Louisiana. Yeah, we're in Louisiana right now, and then we have that other that other mesocyclone to the northeast of that, that's just about to cross over the Mississippi River, which could possibly drop a tornado at any time, but overall, it doesn't have any indication that it is currently on the ground. Let's take a look at Brookhaven. I think Brookhaven, the threat for the threat for a tornado in Brookhaven is going to be uh, quite a prominent one that we should probably be focusing on because I think these are going to be mostly in rural areas. Yeah, okay, that rotation is going to continue to strengthen over time, just like we've been seeing it strengthen over time, and a very strong inflow getting up to 100 miles per hour. So even if we don't see direct impacts from the tornado, we could still see some indirect impacts from the inflow or the RFD in the form of damaging straight line winds. But still, we could potentially see a tornado drop at any time with this, uh, headed straight for Brookhaven. But as of right now, there's nothing indicating that a tornado is currently on the ground. But again, one could drop at any time. So if you do live in Brookhaven, please make sure you are staying weather alert and getting into shelter, putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, getting in the lowest part of your house, in a basement if you have it, or a storm cellar, staying away from windows or doors, um, and making sure that building that you're in is sturdy. You don't want to be in something like a shack. And if you're traveling down Interstate 55 and you know that you're about to go through the warning cone, you do not want to try to make it through, as you're probably going to be caught in the midst of it. Um, just pull off to the side of the road and don't continue any further. But if you are in the warning cone and you know you're going to be stuck in it, then pull off to the side of the road and get out of your vehicle, lie in a ditch, and lie in a ditch away from your vehicle and cover your head with your hands and protect yourself from flying debris until the tornado is over. That's the necessary precautions that you should be taking if you plan on driving down Interstate 55 through the warning cone, or if you live in Brookhaven. We have another tornado warning for Marge, Mississippi. Very, very prominent rotation here. Um, is probably gonna barrel directly towards Marge, Mississippi, and very prominent hook echo here as well. Um, Nothing indicating that a tornado is currently on the ground. However, a tornado may drop at any second. If you live in Marge, please make sure you are getting into shelter immediately, doing the same thing that I told the people in Brookhaven to do. Um, as again, this could potentially drop a tornado at any second. And we're seeing a ton of tornado warnings right now. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever about what's currently going on, please feel free to ask in the chat. I will answer them. Um, I'm having to do something for really quickly, so it may be like 1 to 2 minutes. Please feel free to watch the radar. And again, if you live in Marge or Brookhaven, Mississippi, you need to be taking shelter immediately, as a tornado could drop at any time with both of these systems. Let's mainly focus on Mars because that seems to be one of the more immediate threats. So not only do we have the possibility of this developing and touching down as a tornado, but we also have the very strong damaging winds for inflow in the RFD. Outside of that, around Interstate 49. Hold on, give me just a couple seconds. All right, well, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. Currently the tornado does look like it just did touch down with a little bit of a weak debris signature right now. It's a little bit to the north of Marge, so Marge did just dodge a bullet here. Did not take a direct hit from this area of rotation or this tornado, but you can see very prominent rotation as well as a little bit of a debris signature, which may increase with the next radar scan. Again, Marge really dodged a bullet here in terms of being hit by a tornado. It just passed to the north, just barely. Um, but still, Marge probably saw some impacts from the very strong damaging winds around that as well. Yeah, so Marge really dodged a bullet here. This was very strong rotation. It does look very violent as well. Um, and still you can still see that little brief very weak tornadic debris signature on the ground. So if that did hit Marsh directly, we would probably see some damage be done. But then let's take a look at the tornado that could possibly impact Brookhaven. Again, as of right now, there's currently not a tornado on the ground indicated by our correlation coefficient. There's nothing indicating a tornado debris signature. However, you can still see our very strong rotation, um, very strong rotation could allow for a tornado to touch down any at any second, and could impact Brookhaven. Um, could impact Brookhaven at in the next couple of minutes if it were to touch down. So if you do live in Brookhaven, please make sure you are taking shelter. Make sure you're putting as many walls between you and the outside world as humanly possible, as well as well as making sure you're on the lowest floor of your house, making sure that the building you're currently taking shelter in is sturdy and isn't like a shack or anything. And make sure you're staying away from windows or doors, as those could potentially be blown in by tornadic force winds. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask. The rotation is just getting stronger and stronger. Yeah, okay, with the new radar scan, it doesn't look like a tornado touched down to the north of March. It might have just briefly, but thankfully it didn't do anything too crazy. After these two tornado threats clear up and we don't really have anything too crazy that we're looking out for, these tornadoes are expected to kind of just travel through more rural land. Shouldn't really impact anything crazy, so I'm probably not really gonna cover those. But by the time this Brookhaven threat and the Marsh threat does clear out, I'm probably gonna get off here and go to sleep because I am very tired and have been live streaming for I think a total of 3 to 2 hours or 3 to 4 hours so far today total with the two different live streams. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave them in the chat. I will answer them. Again, if you're living in Brookhaven, make sure you're taking shelter immediately, as this tornado could touch down as any second now. We're just continuing to see the rotation ramp up even more and more. It's getting significantly stronger with every radar scan. So this could drop a tornado at any time. And again, if you live in Brookhaven, you have to be taking shelter immediately. All right, let's take a look at the rotation for Mars. You can see like just how organized and how violent that looks, as well as how strong the winds around that are as well. Then we also have two other areas of rotation here as well, which could potentially lead to some tornadic impacts. But overall, they should mostly just pass through mainly rural area. And this tornado threat for Marge, by the time it gets out of Marge, which it is going to in the next couple of minutes here, don't think it's going to lead to all that much of a threat for Marge anymore. Marge definitely did dodge a bullet, as there's nothing indicating that it's currently on the ground. It should pass over mainly rural areas for the next couple of minutes. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be setting 3 p.m. as the latest time that I'm probably gonna be live streaming for. If things don't cool off by 10 p.m., I'm probably just gonna end the live stream, but I will provide you with some links that I suggest you go to if they're still live streaming for some for severe weather coverage, because I won't be able to do it after 10 p.m. I'm already getting extremely tired right now. I'm kind of fighting to stay awake. So around 10 p.m., if things don't cool off by then, I will give you guys a link to some other channels that I highly suggest you check out for severe weather coverage. There may actually be a tornado on the ground just to the north of Marge, with this very tiny tornado debris, or with this very tiny tornado debris signature right here, as well as this very tiny velocity couplet. But yeah, Marge really dodged a bullet here. The places that may still be in impact though, in impact range, are probably going to be um, Raleigh, uh, Sly, Silvirena, and Bay Springs. Oh, okay, and then Brookhaven as well. The Brookhaven threat for tornado, or the threat for that tornado in Brookhaven is still ongoing. In fact, it is nearing very close. It's just a couple minutes away. Again, if you haven't taken shelter already in Brookhaven, you have to be taking shelter, as a tornado could touch down at any second. This is one of those mesocyclones that could potentially be dropping a violent tornado if it were to touch down. Currently, there's nothing indicating that a tornado is on the ground. But it could drop down at any time, and you have to be taking shelter if you live in Brookhaven in the next couple of minutes. Still have those other tornado warnings for the more rural areas. Oh, okay, okay. I figured out if they're just gonna let tornado warnings expire. If they don't say radar indicated or observed, if they just say tornado warning and then expiration, in a certain amount of time, I think that just means that they're just going to let them expire. So I don't think this one in particular is going to be continued anymore. However, it does look like these are probably going to be continued. Again, if you live in Brookhaven, you have to be taking shelter, or you have to be taking shelter immediately. This is an extremely strong mesocyclone, and if it were to touch down, it would probably be a violent tornado. by the way, again, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. And again, if you guys have any questions or you just want to say hi, please feel free to do it in the chat. Thankfully, so far as this mesocyclone impacts Brookhaven, I don't think it's touched down so far. There's no tornadic debris signature. However, this is still a very, very strong mesocyclone. If it were to touch down, and it still could any second now, it could potentially be a strong tornado. So Brookhaven's not entirely out of the clear just yet. But so far, it looks like it's gonna hopefully pass over without any issues. Okay, so a tornado was reported for the Marge system, which again, it did look like there was a brief tornado touchdown for a second, and I guess that was confirmed. And we also have the other tornado to the north, other tornado warning to the north. This may also be a little bit of concern up to the up further north. We have this one, and we also have that one. We may see a tornado warning with the one around the Beanville National Forest, but it should mostly uh, track through mostly rural areas. Shouldn't really lead to all that much of a notable threat so far. But you see in Brookhaven, it still looks like it's gonna pass through. It's still very, very strong mesocyclone. Again, could touch down any second now. You guys have to still be taking shelter if you live in Brookhaven. Um, as of right now, there's nothing indicating that it's currently on the ground. But again, it could touch down at any time, and if it does, with a mesocyclone this strong, it could potentially be violent. Okay, correlation coefficiency just updated so far. It looks good. Um, so I think it probably passed over Brookhaven without issue. So that is an amazing relief because hit Brookhaven head on as a very powerful mesocyclone, but it didn't touch down, which is again a very very big relief. So they are continuing the tornado warning. It is still possibly going to impact maybe some populated areas such as Monticello and Silver Creek. Um, this isn't the first tornado warning for Monticello either, sadly. Uh, and again, it could potentially lead to some impacts from Monticello with Silver Creek and into um, Prentice. So if you do live in those mentioned cities in Mississippi, please make sure you're staying weather alert and getting to shelter immediately. As this tornado could touch down at any time, and based on the strength of the mesocyclone, if it were to touch down, it would probably be a strong tornado. By the way, sorry for not really talking all that much. I'm very tired, as you may know. For the tornado that did come very close to impacting Marge, it is Marge, right? No, it's Mage. I've been pronouncing the name wrong this entire time. I've been singing Invisible R. Um, for the town that, or for the tornado that did, or the tornado that didn't touch down but almost impacted Mage, or it did touch down actually. For the tornado that almost impacted Mage, that tornado warning it has continued, and is potentially going to impact um, Ra- Raleigh, Silverina, and Bay Springs. So if you do live in any of those cities, please make sure you are getting to shelter immediately, as this mezzo if this tornado touched down, which it could at any second, it could potentially be strong, as indicated by the sheer strength of the mesocyclone right now. As well as for the tornado that hasn't touched down yet, but is also looking fairly violent, for that just passed over Brookhaven. It has also extended for Monticello, Silver Creek, and Prentice. So if you do live in Monticello, Silver Creek, and Prentice, definitely make sure you are taking shelter immediately. Uh, we don't really have to worry about these two tornado warnings all that much, because these are tracking through mainly rural areas. I mean, we can check them out just really quickly, but I'm pretty sure it's not really anything too crazy. Yeah, not really anything all that crazy. Circle and blue are the main things that we're having to focus on. Just gonna keep them all in view here. Hold on a minute. Wait. This is probably contamination, but it does look like there is a mesocyclone here next to very strong um, damaging winds. Probably a mesocyclone there, with probably not a tornadic debris signature, but definitely a low correlation coefficient there. Probably not tornadic debris signature, but it is something to take a note of. And we're still going to continue to watch all of these various tornado warnings for the possibility of them touching down. Again, remember at 10 p.m. EST, I am going to be ending the live stream and going to sleep because I am very tired. The previous tornado warning for Brookhaven has expired for the new one, as it continues to march towards Monticello, Silver Creek, Prentice, and New Hebron. Sad thing is that these aren't the first tornado warnings for some of these towns here. So hopefully you guys are still taking shelter if you live in those affected areas. The Mage tornado or mesocyclone is getting increasingly close to Silverina here. Um, that is something of note. Currently, nothing is indicating that it's on the ground as of right now. The correlation coefficient is still fine, but it could touch down at any moment. Um, you can see a tornado warning but was just re-updated for it. But again, it could touch down at any time for Silverina. Um, they did extend the tornado warning a little bit even further, which does now include Bay Springs, Lewin, and Monteros. for the tornado warning for Monticello, Silver Creek, and Prentice, the mesocyclone is becoming mostly disorganized. It's becoming a little bit of a mess. So hopefully it stays on that downward trend and it doesn't pick back up again. It doesn't look like we have another tornado warning though that we're gonna have to focus on. Let's actually check that out real quick. What's the best radar site for it? It's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. And as of right now, I don't really think there's any densely populated areas that's going towards except for Crosby, which is outside of the warning cone at this time. But still, I'd take precaution if you live in Crosby. Because of how disorganized this mesocyclone's becoming, it's probably gonna the warning's probably gonna be let to expire. Um, may have a little bit of rotation left over still though, trying to continue. Right here mainly between the greens and blues. And it does look like the main concern is probably going to be around Bay Springs and Silverina. Potentially being impacted at this time. If you live in Silverina or Bay Springs, you need to be taking shelter immediately. As of right now, no tornado is currently indicated on the ground. However, it can touch down at any time. You need to be taking shelter immediately if you live in Silverina or Bay Springs. Yeah, I think my main concern as of right now is probably going to be around Bay Springs or Silverina. But I think it's probably going to pass over without too much of a concern. I don't really think it's going to be doing all that much to Bay Springs or Silverina. And as far as the mesocyclone for Monticello, Silver Creek, and Prentice, you guys may still be in shelter, which is good. You should still be in shelter if you live in those aforementioned cities. Um, but it does look like the majority of a mesocyclone has been uh, disorganized, with maybe it trying to continue going right there, but overall it's not really trying to really do all that much. Then we also have another tornado warning just to the west of Crosby. So even though Crosby isn't in the immediate danger of this tornado warning, I do suggest you take caution for the future if you live in Crosby. All right, well, I'm probably gonna end the live stream here. I do want to thank everyone that did tune in though and did show their support in this live stream tonight. I really do appreciate everyone that did tune in. I'm going to be putting the links of those channels I did mention previously in the comments for if you want more severe weather coverage for the events that are currently ongoing. If they are alive, I do have to check if they are alive real quick. I haven't not done that yet. Um, which I'm gonna just check on them really quickly. Alright, only one of them is live out of the two that I was going to suggest to you guys, so
Thunderstorms
I
may
will be giving you the link to their channel. This is Weather Watcher. You might have seen of them. You may have heard of them. Um, they're sometimes in my comments and stuff. They've been running that live stream all day. Um, So if you do want more severe weather coverage for the events tonight, um, I highly suggest you check their live stream. Um, they they are also absolutely amazing at what they do, and they're sometimes in my comments and things. I talk to them, so um, I just want to thank you guys for showing up and your support, and I appreciate anyone that tuned in for today. And again, the link to their channel is there, so hopefully you guys can stay safe tonight.